Our spiritual nature is powerful beyond measure. When you split an atom, there's so much energy released in splitting one atom. And just think of how many atoms your body's made of. Just think how much energy your body houses in terms of energy.
Mark, why don't you tell us something about how women in your tribe dealt with pregnancy, and when the child was born, how were the children raised? Who raised those children?
In tradition, and that would be long ago, in our societies, first of all, it wasn't a tribe, it was the nations of people, and then we had the clans, and more important than tribes or nation, the clans, because every clan is autonomous, and it's a group of clans that make a community. So we had clans because we didn't want to marry our cousins and have relationship with our cousins. So to avoid that, we had clans, so that clans were different families, groups of families within the community.
So it was not possible to be together with a man from your own clan?
It was not possible to be with a male from our own clan, for any female to be with a male from her own clan. Mm-hmm. Never. Not even a second, third cousin. No relation. It all based on matrilineal or matriarchal, the rule of the mother and the lineage of the mother. Our kids weren't patrilineal at all. We didn't go by the blood of the father, only the mother.
So the female played a very important role in the clan, right?
Well, female plays the most important role in the clan because the woman is a co-creator, because women carry back children and get impregnated and carry children. So women carry the child and give birth, because women are life givers and males are not. So in our culture, a woman is a co-creator. Just like we have Mother Earth, we have our Creator, and we have Mother Earth, and we have women, and that succession is like mother and child, Mother Earth and woman, then a mother and her child. It's just a succession of feminine energy in creation. We had clans, and women would have a clan mother of their own clan. And that clan mother was basically the boss of the clan. People supported the clan mother and supported her wisdom and knowledge, and protected and loved the clan mother.
Who chose her?
Creator. The beginning of time, it came through Creator. It would have originally was some sign or something that would come from Creator to choose that, but once it started, then we kept it that way. We always kept the clan pure. The clan had to be, if it was Wolf Clan, it had to be Wolf Clan, Bear Clan, all the way through. And every clan had their clan mother. Every village had a community of clans, each with their own clan mother, which became later as what you call tribes, because tribes are like groups of clans in a community. Really, that word originated from Africa, but people came here after dealing with Africans, and they use the same terminology to designate our communities. We still say tribes today, but it's really nation of people and communities in the nation, and and below that is the clans. But the most important thing in any community or any nation is the clan, because it's the assembly of clans that make the community. And every clan had a clan mother. The clan mothers had a society in which they were like the Supreme Court. They made the rules of the land. They enforced the rules of the natural law given by Creator in respect to Mother Earth and life givers. Our whole society was based on that. All fetuses start out as female. Our people just knew these things out of teachings from the star people and other pools of knowledge that we learned from and grew from, and original instructions given to us by the star people. We just kept passing these same stories and traditions down, and that's how I got mine. My stories and traditions was from it being told to me, and I'm telling it to you.
And you told me last time we talked, the process of birth, this is something that just women did, right?
Back then, babies weren't born on land, like you see a hospital, a bed. Babies were born in water. Heated water pools were built inside of a moon lodge being where groups of women of different clans come during their time of their menstruation time, and they would come together, called a moon lodge, for their moon time. Once every so many days, they would have their moon time, which was 13 times a year. In our culture, we went by the turtle's back as our calendar, where there's 13 moons in the year instead of the 12 you have now, because we weren't superstitious, so 13 was
not a bad number.
Was not a bad number. So we had 13 months a year and 13 moon times a year for women to go to the moon lodge. They would be used, and women who are together closely usually line up their personal biology with the group. It just turned out to be the perfect thing to do, was to have a group, was to be all women at this time. Not only did they celebrate their moon time, because their moon time was to give the egg back to the earth. When a woman's born, all the eggs they're ever going to have, they have at birth. Every moon time, a spirit is given back to the earth. So moon time is more than just a physical or psychological time. It's also a time of spiritual passing, where a spirit's given back to the earth to be recycled and born again. So every moon time, the egg is returned to the earth, as well as the spirit that was attached to that egg, the earth spirit, the animal spirit. And so that's why we consider it a ceremony and a sacred time. So the moon lodge made perfect sense for women to be in a ceremony with other women during that time. There was also women who were pregnant, and they would be given birth, and they had, back then, the Indians had great midwives type people. They would make these heated pools of water using hot stones, put in the water to heat the water up. And these pools of water was made by digging out the earth and then lining it with clay pads or clay insulation, and then so it wouldn't be dirty, and then letting the water in from the creeks or river, and then closing the water off and heating the pools for these women to birthing pools. And it happened back in a long time ago. They would have these moon lodges, and they would give birth to these children, and then but children didn't get a name for 2 years. Some children die young, and infants and different other things. So we didn't name a baby until it was 2 years old, before its third birthday, but by the time it was 2.
And who gave the baby the name?
A medicine people that would search for a name in the spirit, and they would have a naming ceremony, and it's always during the new winter ceremony. Midwinter ceremony in February in my people.
And what is the midwinter ceremony? What happened there?
Midwinter is in February, whenever the moon cycle is new. They meet and they give these kids names. They have naming ceremonies. They have different kinds of, for people past, condolences, and a lot of ceremonies were done in, but the naming ceremony was the big one. And a feast. They always had a feast in the longhouse, and they danced stomp dances.
So were there different dances for different feasts?
Yeah, lots of different. Stomp dance was our spiritual connector, and you just do it. It's kind of a 2-step continuous Even they still do this today in longhouses. They have stomp dance, midwinter ceremony. The last one I was in was in 2000 when I was in Canada, Six Nations. It was a 2-day event, 2 or 3 days it lasted.
Last time you told me that not only the mother that gave birth to that child would raise that child, right?
Right. In tradition, you have your clan. So if the baby is born Bear Clan, then all the Bear Clan, all the brothers, all the male of that clan. But in Indian culture, all Indian males are brothers to each other that are the same clan. If you're a Wolf Clan or a Bear Clan, then all your cousins are brothers. We don't differentiate. We don't really have cousins back in the older tradition. We had brothers and sisters. Really didn't have aunties, we had sisters. So, now you just hear Indians calling each other brother and sister all the time. But that's where it came from. They had a big support group, so fathers didn't generally stick around. Fathers were on the move, and which caused a lot of problems in modern times because a lot of Indian guys have been called negligent fathers now because it was never really our tradition for the father to raise the child. The child wasn't raised by the father. The child was, I'm not saying the father didn't contribute. I'm saying he didn't have an obligation to contribute like uncles or brothers do, or of the mother, because it's matrilineal, matriarchal. So the mother is never without a support group because she's always taking care about her clan. And back in our culture, a woman didn't leave the home of her mother, and that means she lived in the same lodge, that she would not leave the home of her mother, her general vicinity. So the clan mother always had help from her supporting family. So the child was born Bear Clan or say any clan, then that clan group would support their mother. So no matter who the husband was, or if they didn't last or didn't stick around, the child always was at home and never separated, because he was always supported by his brother, his uncles and brothers and sisters.
So raising a baby was a whole family affair.
Yeah, there was no child alone. There was no child unwanted. You didn't have to have adoptions because it wasn't necessary. You didn't have to be adopted somebody. You may be. A group may just love somebody so much that they adopt them. But that's their choice. It's not because they had to or felt obligated to.
And you told me that women were very respected, right?
Well, women are life givers. Creator's a life giver. Mother Earth's a life giver. So women have to be respected because they're life givers. It's in the natural law. It's in the original instructions our Creator gave us to live by, to treat women with ultimate respect and care, because women are the life givers and our whole 7th generation depends on them and their ability to give life. That's it.
Mark, you told us that everybody has 2 spirits. And with that, you also said, when we first met you and we told you, we felt very drawn to the Indian culture. And you explained why that could be. Could you tell us about the 2 spirits?
Everyone has an earth spirit that comes from the egg of their mother. The egg from the mother is where your earth spirit comes from. That's why we're tied to the earth, tied to our mothers and tied to the earth. When they check your genetics, the mother's side is easiest to trace because it ties from the mother to the earth. And so that's why we're a matrilineal, matriarchal society, is because of the earth spirit. But your earth spirit comes from the egg of the mother, which comes from the earth. So humans, we know, have a higher spirit. And there was a difference in our evolution where it looked like we were a little more than a evolved ape type person, like a Cro-Magnon or Neanderthal. And then suddenly we become a human being. And when they become a human being, what was introduced into our bodies was a receptor, piece of genetic material that would receive a spirit from a higher spirit that would give us an eternal life, spiritually an eternal life. Now our other spirit, our earth spirit, is revolving eternally as well, but it's always connected to the ground you're on. If one day the earth blew apart, then those spirits would just be out in the universe. So maybe they would go somewhere else, but the earth spirits are tied to the ground you're born in. Don't matter where you are born, you're still tied to the ground. So now we have a higher spirit. We say that when the water breaks, that spirit comes to the child. It doesn't really come to the child before that, the higher spirit. So we don't really have that eternal spirit until right before we're born. It joins, but it joins voluntarily, and they learn, and they either mesh up or they don't. If they don't mesh up right away, then maybe one of them, maybe the higher spirit will leave, and then that person will kind of be born what they call autistic. Because if you don't have the higher spirit, you can't operate with a full human capacity. You're really just kind of like a Cro-Magnon again. But then you got a space for the higher spirit if they ever want to come back. We got an earth spirit to come from our mother, to come from the earth. And then when we pass on, when our bodies return to the earth, our spirit returns to the earth. But until our bodies is consumed back by the earth, then we can't. Our earth spirit won't rest, until that happens. So that's we return all our. That's why we had Indian mounds, was because we wanted to return the earth spirit back to Mother Earth.
We told you that we were both born in Europe, but we've never felt at home. When we came to North America, it felt very much like home, and we were both very much drawn to the Indian culture. Why is that? Because
a lot of Indians were taken to Europe for hundreds of years. They were taken to Europe, and for one reason or another, and by their captors, and they spent time and many Indians died there. And wherever your earth spirit dies, that spirit now becomes available in that area to be reborn again through another mother. Doesn't matter if she's Indian or not, but the child will still be familiar with the Indian, with the heartbeat of the earth and the heartbeat of the drum. And so when you're born in another country and you feel like an Indian, but you don't have any Indian blood physically, but you got this earth spirit that's telling you is familiar with Indian ways, even though you've never experienced it before, till you come to this country and find out that this sounds familiar. Or maybe you're young over there and you watch some movies that are really more, or watch some documentaries that are more true, and then you realize that this connects with you better than your own culture, because really your earth spirit is really an Indian. That's why my grandpa would teach anybody, because he didn't know who had an Indian earth spirit or who didn't. And our higher spirit doesn't have a race associated with it. It doesn't have a culture or ethnicity associated with it. Our higher spirit that would come from Creator, our second spirit when we're born, it doesn't have a religion. It doesn't have anything. It's a novice in this. I mean, it may have a history.
It's a free spirit.
It's not owned by any ground. And
not even owned by this world. It could also be in another world.
Right, but your earth spirit is always bound to the earth and always then to your mother. A German person could have a German mother, but have an Indian spirit, or a Romanian mother and a Romanian spirit and an Indian spirit, because one of her eggs has one of their Indian spirits in one of the eggs she's carrying, and if they happen to be fertilized, that's the egg that's fertilized, and they will come about feeling like they're Indians. and they never have a drop of blood.
Thank you.
Does that help out?
Very much so. Mark, if you could speak to the people, kind of like when the president has the State of the Union address and, you know, all the television channels and everyone carries the message, what would your message to the people be?
What would it be? It would be get rid of greed. Become greediless. Don't want to possess everything. Get rid of one possession, you know. You don't own nothing. You may have something that you use, but you don't own it like forever. So get rid of that notion that you have to own something to be happy. The scooter you guys helped me get, I own it now, but I'm not going to own it forever. There's a day coming when I'll pass and somebody else can use that scooter. In other words, I'm only holding it. In our culture, only our women could hold land because they have a connection to Mother Earth through life-giving. Man didn't hold the land because he didn't have a life-giving connection with Mother Earth. He couldn't own land, so he couldn't select a chief. That's why women could select a chief, because you know they could put a chief in office, but to help in the male leadership role, you know, to be a speaker and provider and help direct young guys and be a leader for the community. But they would select a male to do that. He didn't tell anybody what to do. He just guided through actions. A woman was the only one that could hold the land because she has a natural gift. She can hold the land because she has something in common called life-giving with the land. So we didn't have any such thing as male landowners. But Europeans, they didn't have such thing as female landowners. So when they came here, and our land wasn't held by men, so they didn't recognize women as existent. So they looked at the land like it was free to take. But we didn't own it anyway. We were just holding it. Our women held the land. We didn't in a partnership with life. So greed is when you have a need to possess things and call it yours. And greed is what tears every society down and disintegrates. Greediness is arrogance. And the only thing the Creator can ever forgive is arrogance. If you're arrogant when you pass on, you'll never seek the light. You'll never look for the light. You'll never stand in the light because you'll always go away from the light because you're arrogant and you think you know better than anything. You don't have anything to apologize for because you think you're perfect. It's not that you can't think you're good. It's just nobody's perfect and you can't think you're perfect. You got to be willing to be humble and apologize for things you didn't do right because everybody screws up. You have to be accountable for that. And when you're accountable for that, then you can move on to another life. If you're arrogant, you won't even seek the light. You'll just go straight into darkness and take yourself out of ever existing again. Without darkness, you may exist again, but it'll only be through darkness. But if your spirit goes to actually a dark place in the universe and actually goes to the void of darkness, then you won't ever return. You'll always be wandering in darkness. Your spirit will. You can take yourself to the void of nothingness if you're too arrogant. To me, people want to talk about hell. That's the only hell I know. So when you take yourself out of the love and light of Creator and take yourself into darkness out of arrogance, arrogance is the only thing a Creator won't forgive because you don't give the Creator a chance to forgive it. If you're arrogant, you won't ever look to the light. You don't ever think you did anything wrong. You just think everything you do is right and perfect. But you're not perfect. Nobody is. You can't be perfect. You can work to be better and best, but you can't forget being perfect. You're not doing it. But that doesn't mean we can't be powerful. We all can have the power to move mountains. We just don't believe we can do that. I think women could do it easier than males. Our spiritual nature is powerful beyond measure. When you split an atom and you see what energy is produced from splitting one atom, that's not a theory, that's based on fact. When you split an atom, there's so much energy released, and splitting one atom And just think of how many atoms your body's made of. Just think how much energy your body houses in terms of energy. Your whole body is made of flesh, but that flesh is made of molecules, and those molecules are made of atoms. And one atom in your body can create a fantastic energy release. You're powerful beyond measure. I'm not saying anybody would explode and become powerful, that explosive, but you're made of atoms, and we see what happens when you split one atom, the energy that's released. So you're full of them, and you have a lot of electromagnetic energy in you, and there's things that we don't know how to do, but maybe in the next life you'll learn. There's things I've done that I've been pretty amazed at. It happened to me. I don't take that, well, look at me, I'm powerful. I don't really think like that, because that's not the important part. The important part is being happy. If I do all this and I'm not happy, well, good with it. If I'm not grateful and happy, what was it for? Nothing. Be grateful and don't be greedy. Live a life of gratitude, but if you do, you won't be greedy. Don't seek revenge. Don't hate people because they're this or that. Don't have hate in your heart. In the Indian world, the richest person in the village or community was the person who gave the most. We would share the most with people who didn't have what they had. When you were blessed with a lot of wealth, in terms of food or in terms of things, you shared it with your community, you didn't hoard it. That's the difference in modern people and Indian culture and long tradition. No matter what community it was, they didn't hoard wealth. It was shared equally. It was distributed equally by women, because women would respected other children. Not only wanted their children to be strong and have things, they wanted other people to have the same. They didn't hold it just for themselves or their family. They shared it with other families and other clans. Because we are in a human race. We are human beings, so we have an obligation, our spiritual nature, to be good to each other and kind. That's what I think anyway. Get rid of greed, embrace gratitude, and seek happiness. What makes you happy? Killing people makes you happy, you gotta rethink it. It probably sounds bad, but killing people make you happy. Kill yourself. Don't make everybody else suffer for your sickness. People don't like to hear that.
Would you like to get access to exclusive content as well as being part of a community of like-minded people posting, sharing, and connecting on a deeper level? Come join the Inspired community on Locals, where we share more intimately and privately and do our Coffee and Truth live streams, as well as our Honey Talks show, the only Inspired show with Kristin Nolan. The Inspired community is absolutely uncensored and unfiltered, a place for truth, authenticity, and freedom. Join us now at inspired.locals.com or click on a link in the video description.